What up, Dokkanners? With part 1 almost complete during the 10th anniversary, the next question obviously is, when does part 2 begin? So in this video, we're going to be discussing some dates, going over when part 2 is exactly going to be starting, when part 2 summons would likely begin, and we're going to be doing some predictions as far as the characters that could be appearing in that roadmap bracket thingy. You know, the thing that I absolutely destroyed my terrible predictions in part 1. So let's just start by talking about the most obvious. When does part 2 begin? The golden rule, for those of you who are new to the game when it comes to celebrations, is that typically things are spaced out by 2 weeks. Part 1 for any 2-part celebration, 2 weeks. Second half takes place 2 weeks later. So for the 10th anniversary, easy answer would be 2 weeks after February 28th, which is when we started. So 2 weeks later would be Tuesday, February 11th. But we actually know a little bit more than that because of the social media campaign promotion. That and something else. So let's start with the social media thing. The SNS social media campaign is something that traditionally takes place during marquee celebrations, where they want you to be basically promoting their game with the promise of free stones. And so that's what they've been doing. For part 1, they have given you from the 28th of January until the 9th of February. Now, granted, this didn't start when the anniversary started. It was about 8 hours later. So this doesn't necessarily have to be precisely when it starts, but it's definitely going to be within a few hours of this. So February 9th, 8:59 p.m. is the end of the first interval, aka the end of part 1. So part 2 for the 10th anniversary could start 8 hours after this, which would be what, 5 in the morning, 9 hours, 4 hours, whatever. As long as it's somewhere close to this, that's where we're headed. So part 2 is definitely going to be starting by the time you're watching this video, probably within like a week, around the 9th or the 10th. My guess is the 10th. That is when part 2 is going to be starting. This is further corroborated by the missions that we see in part 1 for the mission board. The panel missions for part 1 go from the very start of the 10th anniversary all the way until 8:59 p.m. on February 9th at the end. Now, for my time zone, that's what this is. If you want to check exactly for yourself, use your own game or the website Dokkan Wiki to find out for yourself. So this is confirming part 2. After that, though, the summons for part 2 are at a different point. Again, new players. For anniversaries, they don't have the part 2 summons take place at the start of part 2. They have them take place a week later. So a week after this, we're looking at the 16th, but it might be a little bit earlier than that, because if we look at the discounts here, the discounts suggest that the summons could be starting as early as the 14th of February. The super multi discounts end at 5 a.m. February 14th. That's not to say that this summons are going to be starting 1 minute afterwards. It could happen. I personally don't think it will. But then again, I never thought that the celebration would start at a 1 o'clock Pacific time ever. That's freaking lunchtime for me. I know, I mean, somewhere around the world it's an inconvenient time, but like, I'm in the Pacific time zone, which is where Bandai Namco headquarters is. I just wasn't expecting this. So I suppose 5 a.m. is possible. But what I think is more likely going to happen is at the earliest, we could be starting the summons February 14th at 1 p.m., which would constitute about 8 hours after this. But that is still approximately a week after the start of part 2. So don't expect to summon right away when we jump into part 2. Instead, there will be other content. I mean, we're getting new content as we speak. Like, we're getting new 10th anniversary. We're getting new Dokkan Chronicles. There will be more red zone, blue zone stages. So there's plenty of stuff to do in the meantime. And some of it can potentially be done without the new characters, but the summons itself won't be starting for at least 5 days afterwards. So those are your 2 important dates, people. Keep that in mind. 9th/10th is when the part 2 starts. 14/15 is when the summons will start. The Elder Kai ritual summons, I believe, end half a day before, so they're not entirely accurate, but generally it's like within a 24-hour span of this. So if we were to push this by 24 hours, then that would be the 14th at 9 p.m., which sounds about right. That's also a typical summon time for the average Dokkanner. So now that that finishes the when part of the video, let's go ahead and talk about those predictions. You guys remember my stupid predictions for the initial video that I made, right? Remember all this where I thought I was a genius and I put the banner units here. I put a free-to-play friend summon super easy. I will stand by that, though. This should have happened. Like, those free-to-play friend summon characters are just absolute trash. Why are they holding out? Like, why won't they just give us a new friend summon? But more importantly, why don't they just make those older ones better? They did it with not Majin Broly. Why did I say Majin Broly? With Bio Broly during the worldwide celebration, they gave us a great free-to-play LR for that. I don't think it would be too much to give a friend summon a super easy, but whatever. So yeah, my bracket was immediately busted and a few others. So congratulations to those of you who predicted the Buhan and the Vegito. Let's go over what we know / don't know. So everything that is in solid coloring, those are the characters that we know. I don't think by the time you guys are watching this, we will have got their super easiest, but we've already known that they're going to be coming up. They were officially announced. So Gogeta, Janemba, super easy. 4 super easy so far. While this is good, I've seen a lot of people issue their grievance with the fact that they're not getting as many stones, which is valid. But when you think about it, actually, I'll get to that point in a second. So we got 4 EZAs, 4 older characters getting upgrades. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new characters introduced, but only 4 of them have been summoned so far. Now, as far as the super EZA discussion, while it is unfortunate that we're not getting as many stones, I would argue it's fine because we're going to be getting a ton of EZAs if everything else holds true. Notice how everything that is like half transparency, these are the things that most of us are expecting to happen because it just seems very obvious. The 7th anniversary LRs for sure, so that's 30 and 30. Saiyan Saga Duo EZAs, that would be 2 more EZA sets, that's another 30 and 30. And we got the Planetamic Saga characters, that's another 30 and 30. So just between all those, that's 6 EZAs, which means 6 times 30. Actually, it would be 34 for, actually, no, they're all LRs, so it'd be 33. So it'd be 6 times 33. That's a lot of stones. That's 6 EZAs versus the 4 super EZAs that we have so far. If you include the free-to-play characters, because they also will receive EZAs, although they don't give you as many stones, that would be actually 6 EZAs right here, right now. So 6 versus 6. The only 2 EZAs in question are the Android Cell Saga characters. One of them, most people are assuming is going to be Tech Cell, because Tech Cell is seen on the banner for the Extreme Z summons, or Extreme Z, whatever they call it, right? Extreme Z, hello, this one. Extreme Z Dokkan Festival, right? We got Super EZA, Super EZA, Super EZA, Super EZA. So if he's going to be getting a Super EZA as well, that would tip the scales back in the Super EZA's favor. But then what does that leave with this one? Is this going to be another Super EZA, or will this be a regular EZA? That's the question. I think this is probably the biggest question mark of any one of these. So place your bets in the comments down below. Honestly, I think the answer really just lies between 2 possible answers. Actually, maybe 3. Let me go through my train of thought here. I talked about this before, but I'll just say it again. So going back to the Android Cell Saga, we're not looking at super EZAs. I'm just looking at regular EZAs here. Basically, I went back and I looked for the oldest summonable characters that don't have an EZA. And that would basically be, and when I say summonable, I mean like LRs or Dokkan festivals. That would be Gohan Trunks, 17, 18. But then when you also factor in a character that could EZA on his own, I would also throw in this one. The reason why we can now disqualify the Goku and the Transforming Cell is because those 2, they come in a set because they're 2 parts of the Golden Week celebration from 2022. So if one is getting an EZA, it just seems weird that the other one would not. Then again, Dokkan has been proven to do all sorts of trolly unexpected things, so they could very well be in play. But my logic is that it's got to be an isolated Dokkan Festival or LR, and that would be these 3. 17, 18, Gohan Trunks, Goku Gohan. If you also were to factor in the theme, which I don't think necessarily needs to qualify for the characters, you could, then maybe Goku Gohan would honestly be the best option here. But if it were me, if I were to pick, I think this one would probably be the most fitting. Just because like we're trying to celebrate all of Dragon Ball, right? So we've got Goku and Vegeta. We've got Frieza in here. Assuming Gohan gets a summonable character, I think having an alternate version of the Gohan would be a nice way to, again, pay homage to that aspect of Dragon Ball. So I just think that Gohan Trunks would just be the most appropriate. But that's just my take. So here is the updated list of what I think we're going to be seeing for upcoming EZAs. Future Gohan Trunks and Perfect Cell Super EZA. That just leaves the 4 summonable characters. Now for the 4 summonable characters, this is proven to be true. It is going to be these 4. I'm going to say it again. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I honestly don't know why I do this. I'm just trying to be nice and considerate, even though it's pointless, but whatever. You have a spoiler warning for the leaked LR for part 2. If you don't want to know, then by all means dip. I'm sure the comments would have already spoiled it, but still, I feel like I should do it. 3, 2, 1. The part 2 LR is going to be Gogeta. So with him confirmed here, that just leaves 1 Android Cell Saga character, and then one Dragon Ball Super character, and then a banner unit that will presumably also be or Dragon Ball Super. I suppose they could put the banner unit here, but it just doesn't feel like the right way to celebrate Dragon Ball by not having a summonable character from this. So I'm gonna say it's gonna be Father Son Kamehameha, as most people probably would, because that is the most family-esque moment from Android Cell Saga. Remember the summoning theme for the celebration for the Dokkan Festival? It is the miraculous power born from the strongest duo, Gogeta, probably led by Vegeta, in fact. The Vegito for part 1 is led by Goku, and he leads Earth protecting heroes and all that stuff. If Vegeta leads the duo for the part 2 and he gets the reversible exchange, he could conceivably lead the successors category. That is the other category that needs to be represented during this celebration. So if successor were to receive a massive leader skill, Vegeta would have to be the one to do it, because Goku is not a successor. Also, there's something that you should know when it comes to the whole leak situation. There's one thing that we know about it, and that is the fact that the Dokkan event that it comes from is the ultimate pair, but not the Vegito version. It's the Gogeta version. So this is an important distinction, because the ultimate pair is basically for all characters that eventually fuse into their fused forms. So if we have a Gogeta with the ultimate pair medal on it, it's not going to be a straight up Gogeta. That was my original theory, because I don't think that because in that movie, while they do fuse and then they win, the whole breaking apart thing is really just an afterthought at the end of the movie. So I kind of just thought maybe we could give the new reversible exchange mechanic to a carnival character, because we've done that in the past. During the worldwide celebration for Future Saga, the domain effect was introduced via Fusion Zamasu, and then the domain was also introduced again for the carnival character Future Gohan. So that's just one of several examples. I thought that it would be nice. Maybe we have a possible LR Goku Frieza Android 17 that could have the reversible exchange, or something else. I was also thinking Zamasu could work, because Zamasu, while Zamasu is not really a rival or family or anything like that, again, if we don't take that phrase too literally, maybe it could just be the fact that Goku and Vegeta have to fight an evil Goku and a Zamasu or something like that. It could be just like rivals on the battlefield. I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch, but that could be a cool way to introduce the reversible exchange through a carnival character. But alas, with this being what it is, it's going to be the Dokkan Festival. They're not going to have two summonable characters have the new mechanic. That would be too much work. So it's going to be Gogeta, Father Son Kamehameha. I would say the most variation is probably going to be Dragon Ball Super. Could it be, Beast Gohan, UI Goku as a what if? Sure. Could it be Orange Piccolo? Could Orange Piccolo lead successors? He could. That is a possibility. I still am throwing the Goku Frieza 17 prediction in there. Even if they don't get reversible exchange, I could totally see them having that unit be Frieza, Goku, or Android 17, just named that, but the other two are featured in the card art. And then maybe like if those characters are on the rotation, they get a different Link super attack, similar to the Vegeta. So here is my prediction for part 2. Gogeta, Father Son, Goku Frieza 17 could just be like a simple character. And then the banner unit is going to be Veku, I think. Because one of the rules that a lot of people thought would be the case was that if you, I guess it hasn't really, no, it's already been deconfirmed, because we know this is the Dokkan Fest. People were saying it can't be Gogeta because Gogeta and his banner unit both have to be from the same section. I knew right off the bat that didn't have to be the case. So if he is going to be the Fusion Dokkan Festival, what better way to have the banner unit still somewhat relate to the Z movie character than by also being a fusion? Veku works. A summonable Veku would be nice. The only Veku that we have is this trash, free-to-play, terrible unit. So give us a summonable DBS Broly Veku. That would also be a nice way to bring in another character from that movie. So there you go. That is my full updated list for the characters. Not much of a stretch at this point. I guess the only one would be this, but I think a lot of people would agree this is a great option. If it's not this, it's Goku Gohan or 1718. Pretty easy. So I don't think there's going to be much variation with our predictions now, but if you have any other crazy wild takes, feel free to share them. And best of luck to all of you who have a perfect bracket still. I would love to see if there's someone out there who ultimately gets every prediction right throughout this entire celebration. That would be awesome. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. Let in the comments your thoughts on when the celebration should be starting along with the banners. Should the banners for part 2 start at the same time as the start of the celebration part 2? What sort of predictions, crazy predictions, or reasonable ones do you have for the part 2 characters? Feel free to share in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more Dokkan content of the future and click the notification bell so that you'll soon know you want to see more of us. Thanks again. Stay tuned and Arjun to Dokkan responsibly.